Being IT tech support really upsets me. Because you realize some things really are that simple.
Yeah, I don't know why it's been doing that the last couple times, but it's all good now. It seems it's actually reading the mic as it should be again instead of.
It's probably just it's a Windows problem. It usually is a Windows problem, but Windows problems can usually be fixed rather easily. Whereas in Linux, you have to do advanced calculus to download Chrome.
You have to go in and start fingering people to figure something out.
Fingering them, touching them. Yeah, poor Linda.
Poor Linda and Bob.
No, Bob's the asshole. He's the one fingering and touching everyone.
Oh, I thought you fingered Bob. I forgot.
No, I refused. I fingered Linda twice. This is gonna sound horrible out of context. I mean, yeah, I don't know. We're gonna attract a lot of losers to this podcast, so they probably know what Linux is.
I mean, yeah, if you're into like IT and server tech and stuff like that, you know what we're on about it. If you don't, it's just gonna be kind of awkward.
You don't even have to be a server tech. Just know how to use the command line. That's fun. And that's basically where you do all that shit. No GUI, just all black. Well, not black background, green text.
Like a hacker.
Yeah, that's exactly. You say that. That's exactly how they do it. Every time you see a movie where they're quote unquote hacking something, like I think in The Matrix they did that. It's a black background with green text. They're using Linux. That's exactly what it is. I don't know if they still do that in movies, but I don't watch movies.
No, I mean,
So
I don't really watch any movies that require a hacker, though. Truth be told, that's just that kind of niche that I'm not really into.
Yeah, well, niche. Movies with hackers, niche. That Mission Impossible.
That Mission Impossible.
So
real niche.
So under the radar.
Welcome to the Bloomfeld podcast, everybody.
Oh look, Dylan did the intro.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my god.
Intro.
But he did it wrong.
That's it. I mean, you just missed the sometimes something and what? No.
Okay.
Subtitle.
Do we have to say the tagline every single time? They know it's a podcast about nothing.
Probably not.
Nah, I just like saying it's
it kind
fun.
of happened.
Well, then fucking do the intro next time, Nathan.
Well, I don't really care. Just
exactly. Then shut the fuck up.
Very true.
God.
Very true.
For context, dear audience, we're recording this episode at 12 p.m. and the previous episode you'll see was recorded last night to this one from 2 to 3 a.m.
Just a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
A few
back at
short
it.
hours ago.
Because we're awful at scheduling.
This is a great idea.
You guys know my schedule. Like, my schedule's always set in stone. You two are the one with the crackhead schedules. Because of your
We
work.
are.
It's not our fault that we don't work a normal 9 to 5. I mean, it kind of is our fault. But I get paid for a very minimal amount of effort. And I'm not changing that because my job is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Professional ball polisher is a pretty nice role.
You don't polish the balls, though.
We don't. My brother just says we do, so I stick with that.
Yeah,
I
Nathan,
don't think you understand how balls work.
Nathan hasn't explained what he does to me for work. I just know he always goes to work with knee pads and a full bottle of Listerine, and when he gets off the shift, the bottle's empty.
He just takes that to the bathroom, and everyone just sort of ignores him. They're scared to fire him because they think he may do something very nefarious with that bottle of Listerine if they fire him. I usually do Nathan's job.
I mean, there's like just a graveyard of Listerine bottles in the back behind the pin setters, and no one talks about it.
But yeah, also, for a little bit more context, if I'm like quiet or dead inside in the previous episode, it's because I wake up for work at 4, and I was up till 3, which is 23 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, man was pulling an all-dayer.
I mean, I'm going to sound dead inside for multiple reasons because
Yeah, true.
I'm awake when I shouldn't be, and I'm also just done with this bullshit that is known as life. So let's get into something that makes us all appreciate life, and that's video games.
Video games.
You know, we're going to be talking about we're going to do something, again, we say a little different. It really isn't that out there anymore. So we did a couple movie reviews, which were fun. we figured we focus on a video game this time. Like one video game that all of us have actually sat down and completed. It's very rare to find one of those.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about probably one of the most popular games of the past console generation. Red Dead Redemption 2. Why not Red Dead Redemption 1? Because I'm the only one here who's beaten it. And
Why not Red Dead
we're not
Redemption
doing
1?
an
'Cause
episode
fuck
on a
you,
game
that's
where
why.
I don't feel like talking about Resident Evil. I don't feel like talking about Red Dead Redemption all by myself.
Yeah.
Because that will get very stale very fast.
So we all have played Red Dead Redemption 2, because it's a game that we all had at the same time, and we played a lot of the online mode, which haven't really called back to that since episode 1, that we all still play Red Dead Online. Even though it's been some time since we made that claim, we still do play online every now and again. So
I still play it a lot.
Yet. Yeah, Dylan's in the ground still.
I'm
I haven't
like ranked 240.
I haven't gotten on in a while because I just don't have the patience right now to play on the grind. Because, well, that and we've just been playing newer games and other things at the moment. Like, we've been playing more Avengers because Jane just comes out today. Shit, I gotta turn on my PS4 and download that.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is a Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge. Oh my god. God, I could do an episode just talking about that one.
It's a good game.
And yeah, there's just a couple more things sprinkled in there, just a couple things, and it's been fun. But Red Dead, we're probably going to talk about the online at some point in its current state. But should we save that for the end?
Yeah, we'll
we
get
can
into
have
that.
that. Yeah.
Because I mean, we're talking like it's going to take like 10 minutes to explain why the online is the way it is.
Yeah.
And I doubt that's going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
I had a thought and I lost it. Fuck Rockstar Games. Anyway,
Indeed.
Dylan, how are we starting this? Do we go over the plot, or do we just kind of just skim? I don't think we need to go over every detail, because if we talk about everything in the story, we're probably gonna be here for way too long.
Yeah.
So
I think we can do a very, very basic recap of events. Like, I can do that if you guys want.
We want to just spoil this game, Rotten? Or
What? I mean,
of course.
Spoiler alert, you will have spoilers for Red Dead Redemption 2, and even potentially some of the online stuff. The online story doesn't matter at all, but, like, yeah,
What
there's
story?
spoilers. So, if you
There's a
haven't,
story?
if you're one of the troglodytes who haven't played Red Dead 2, close this video, go play Red Dead 2 in its entirety, which is like, tens of hours.
Yeah, check back in like 35 hours.
Yeah.
Then come back and watch
And then
this
come back and watch this video, please. We need this.
Yeah.
please, we need this.
pod.
All right, so as most people know, Red Dead Redemption 2 is the prequel to Red Dead Redemption 1, and it takes place in 1899. Towards the end of the dying American West. The protagonists are the Vanderlyn gang, led by Dutch Vanderlyn, and then his second in command, Jose Matthews, his third in command, who you play as through the course of the game, Arthur Morgan. And then there's some recognizable faces from Red Dead 1, like John Marston as a younger man, like mid-20s, Bill Williamson, Javier Escuela, and also some new faces that, aren't mentioned in Red Dead 1. There's a lot of new faces, like fucking Micah. And,
Micah.
The rat.
yeah, there's Micah, there's the ladies at the camp, Mary Beth, Karen, Tilly, Miss Grimshaw, Sadie. So it's not a complete
Lenny.
sausage fest,
Oh,
at
Lenny.
least. Oh yeah, Lenny.
forget Lenny.
I was talking about women,
boy.
Nathan.
I mean, I just
Lenny's
want to
not-
mention more people.
That's fair. Charles is one of the best characters in the game.
I love Charles.
Did you just insult Nathan for something I said?
Yes. Anyway,
Jesus Christ.
so the story revolves around the gang essentially going from fuck up into fuck up as they try to, quote unquote, according to Dutch, move out west and get a piece of land. So,
in their
Very
endeavor,
descriptive plan, Dutch.
in their endeavor to move west, they keep going south and east.
yes.
Well, not
And
just
north
south.
and
They go
east.
north. They do go
It
north.
ends
but
in the
the main
northeast.
direction is east, further away from the west than they should
Honestly,
Yeah.
like, based off the map, since the map of Red Dead is essentially like an amalgamation of like the main territories of the US condensed, they essentially end up in what is remarkably similar looking to Appalachia by the end of the
be
game.
going. Yeah. Which is
Not west at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah. So the beginning of the game takes place during a snowstorm, and because you had to escape the Pinkerton agents, because apparently you get some clues throughout the game. Some fucked up shit happened in Blackwater, and you're on the run from the Pinkertons, which are like federal agents that hunt down outlaws and shit.
Which
are
is
real.
which is from Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yes, which
That
is
was
in Red
one
Dead
of those
Redemption
things they
1 took
kinda-
it from real life.
Yeah, which
Red Dead
the Pinkertons also, like the real Pinkerton agency, also got a little bit pissy about it. And
Well,
like, I
fuck
think they
'em.
tried to sue Rockstar for it at first, but then Rockstar won.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things like you don't have to be such a bitch about it. It's also, they claim they're vilified. It's like they're literally like the protagonists of this game.
Yeah.
Nah, yeah.
Because one thing people seem to forget when playing a Rockstar game, whether it's GTA, Red Dead, Bully, etc., the only one where you are technically a good guy is LA Noire. Every other game, you are a literal piece of shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're
Like,
not the
there
good
are
guy.
But that's
there are qualities to some characters like Arthur and John Marston that we're going to
Yes.
get into, where the morality is a little more a little grayer than you would expect from Rockstar. But at the end of the day, you still murder people
yeah.
on the very frequent basis.
Yeah, so the game starts in a snowstorm. You find this farm that's being attacked by what is that gang called again?
The O'Driscolls.
The O'Driscolls, which is like the enemy gang of your gang. And they kill
O'Driscoll.
this woman's husband, the woman you find out to be Sadie Adler, and you take her with you because, there's nothing left for her in a frozen, now on fire ranch in the middle of nowhere. And then, when you get back to camp, everyone's like, yeah, we don't know where John is. Old John Marston. And Arthur, at the beginning of the game, is just like, God, fuck you, John. I hate you. But he goes and saves John from the glacier where, like, the wolves attack him. And that's, I think, isn't that where John gets his scars? Or at least some of them?
Yeah, that's where John gets the scars because they're fresh when you find them.
Yeah.
Wolf
And
attack.
you take him back to camp. So then you leave the tundra and you make it to, like, the Heartlands and the town of Valentine. And that's when Valentine's one of the last times the game is like not depressing, because the bad luck comes pretty quick after Valentine, especially because there's a shootout in Valentine.
The actions they did in the Snowy Mountain ultimately follow them throughout the rest of the game, because at one point during chapter 1, the prologue, while trying to survive the snowstorm, it's the tutorial section. They're doing very basic things, but one of the final missions you can do is you do a train robbery. You rob Leviticus Cornwall without really thinking about what the repercussions of robbing a rich man in the 1800s.
He's an
would do
oil
to you.
baron, like,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
he has
and-
money hand over fist.
yes.
When after they rob, and it was something I saw coming a mile away. It's like we're running from the feds, and we're about to rob someone who's clearly. I mean, first of all, he has a name,
Yeah.
and they're talking about him like he's a big deal. This guy's gonna come back several times, and he does.
Yeah.
He comes back constantly, and he ain't too happy you robbed his train and stole his what was it, bail bonds.
I think it might have been bail bonds, yeah. So yeah, in Valentine, the reason they have to leave Valentine is Leviticus Cornwall tracks them down to Valentine, and there's a shootout, and they have to escape.
Dutch's massive speech about how he is an innocent man.
Yeah, Dutch
Very
Archibald
funny.
Smith.
Dutch is a very self-righteous man, and he's the leader of the gang, but you see over the course of the game him turn from like this good, trusted, honest leader to just a complete maniac like he is in Red Dead 1.
Now he
So
slips, like
What,
his mental
what it
state
really
slips.
what it really comes down to in Red Dead 2 story is that it starts off with you running east and Dutch saying, "I'll take care of it," and then he never takes care of
yes,
it.
absolutely.
This happens several times throughout the game. Because when you really break it down, Red Dead 2's story isn't super complicated. It's when you get into the characters and when,
Yes.
the ideologies of everyone, because there's a lot of detail in all the characters. Like, a lot of it you can miss, but all the important characters to the story itself, like Dutch, John, Arthur, and a couple of others in the gang, you'll get that, it's front and center for the entire journey. And the game story devolves into a power struggle between Dutch like tightening his iron grip and eventually the gang trying to figure out like what's best for them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of them by the time they figure it out it's too late because it just snowballs into a really really bad situation. You get the army on your ass at one point in this game.
Yes.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yes.
it is consistently the game as you continually get backed into more and more corners until you're out of corners. So after Valentine, correct me if I'm wrong, that's when they go to Rhodes, correct?
Yes, you go to Rhodes because you what is it? It's the creek. I can't remember its name. It starts with an M, I think.
I wanted to say
but-
Dewberry Creek, but I feel like that's somewhere else.
That's close. I think that might be
Anyway.
it. It's not exactly where you stay, but you stay just south of Rhodes, I believe.
Yeah, they go near the town of Rhodes, which is more southeast from Valentine. It's got like very like southern like red clay soil. It's very distinct. The people are very racist.
Oh yeah,
Rhodes-
the further south you get, the worse the people get.
Rhodes is where the game takes a turn.
Yeah.
Because so in Rhodes, there's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet thing going on, where there's the Braithwaites and the Greys, and they hate each other, and like they're the two big shot families. And Dutch, being the con man he is, he thinks we can play both sides, so we always come out on top. And surprise,
rob 'em
surprise,
both.
that doesn't work for long.
No.
And so then you're doing a mission, and you were working with Sheriff Gray, and you've been like honorized deputies. And then Sean, a big mouth, charismatic Irish gentleman in the gang, who was
Which you did save.
yes, you did save. He just gets shot in the head out of nowhere, and you're not ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. I'm still not ready for it. Because it is so out of the blue. Because 1 minute he's talking, he's like, you don't need to worry, Morgan. Shot in the fucking head. Instantly shootout. And that's when you know it's like, fuck. Things are not looking good.
It's about as sudden and as like off-putting as one could expect. I know for me, like I was, because I managed to get into the story without practically any spoilers, other than the fact that you play as John at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Obviously I knew Arthur was going to, jumping the gun here. I knew Arthur was going to die because first of all, you weren't in the first game. You weren't even mentioned. You're not making it past this game, buddy.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
You knew he was going to
You're
die.
that
It was
guy.
just the question of how.
Yeah.
Which I guess I should actually
every,
mention that.
Every prequel goes over. Every prequel has that kind of
Yeah.
issue. But with Sean's death, it is so sudden. It's just bam, gunshot, not in the middle of his sentence. And I gotta say, like, I'd imagine for the time, because cowboys are one of those things that's over exaggerated. There weren't that many cowboys in real life. It's more of a Hollywood thing. But I can imagine the few times there were some criminals, like, up to nefarious things in small towns like that. I'd imagine that's how it would go. I'd imagine shit like that actually did happen back then. Ugh. I still don't like thinking about it because his mouth is still open and he just falls over. It's like, good God, man.
It was a horrible death. And
Yeah, it is very sudden, so,
So
it kind of got me.
I should mention, I say Rhodes is where things start taking a turn, which it is like one of the biggest turns. But even back in Valentine, there's a member of the gang, Herr Strauss. He's like this old Austrian or German man, and he tells Arthur, he's like, Arthur, you should go beat the shit out of people and collect debts from them. He's like, all right. And then you come across Mr. Downs and his family. And he is very sick. You don't know with what, but, you get up close and personal and beat the shit out of him, and he, coughs blood in your face. And you get the debt, and his family hates you, blah, blah, blah. You contract tuberculosis as Arthur from Mr. Downs.
Yep.
And it's unavoidable. It is something you have to do.
Required mission, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you have tuberculosis, flash forward, Sean's dead, relations with the Braithwaites and Greys sour immensely. Isn't it the Braithwaites who kidnapped John's son?
Yeah, they kidnapped Jack.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they kidnapped
which leads
John's
to
3-year-old son, Jack.
My
Which leads
favorite
to
mission.
Such
A good mission.
yes.
And Dutch basically, this is still while Dutch is not batshit insane and selfish, and he's just like, all right, get the boys together, and you go and you raid the house and you slaughter the Braithwaites and get back Jack, and it is such a fucking great mission.
You
And this
set
is where
that
the
shit on
morally-
fire.
This is where the morally gray part comes in, because the Braithwaites, as we've neglected to mention up until this point, were slave owners.
Yes.
Yeah, plantation
They were a
house.
plantation house. It's very much a plantation house. That was the most cathartic thing I have ever done in a video
Now,
game.
technically, by the time of the game, slavery is outlawed by the time of Civil War, but that still means only 30-some years ago, they 100% had slaves there, and they probably still have, poorly treated black servants and shit.
Well, it's also, you're heading in the deep south.
Yeah.
I believe at this point, chapter 3, I believe at this point you can encounter the KKK.
Yes, you will
And you
sometimes.
can kill them for fun.
Yes,
which
I
is
burned them
awesome.
alive like they burn their crosses.
I mean,
Yep.
you get there's a morality system in Red Dead 2, and I'm pretty sure you get positive morale when you
Yes.
kill KKK members.
Yes, you
which is
get
awesome.
more honor from killing the KKK because
I ran into them in the middle of the forest in my playthrough,
Mm-hmm.
and they were reading out a scroll or something, taking some Bible verse out of context, because that's what the KKK do. And then I took out a stick of dynamite and I threw it, and then a flame bottle, and so they caught on fire and then blew up. It was amazing. I killed every single one in one fell swoop, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
burn, motherfucker.
So, just to hurry this along, because I know we don't want to take too much longer on the synopsis. So, after that is when you get thrust into the swamps. And the swamps suck. You
Yeah.
go to Saint Denis, you go to the city and shit. And, of course, nothing can go right. Dutch has said for, the past 5 jobs, he's just like, one more score, Arthur.
We just need money.
Yeah, and
Money.
Hosea, his second in command at this point, is tired of Dutch's shit. He's like, you said we were gonna go out west.
And so that's the thing with Jose as well. He's like the oldest there. I'm not, other than Uncle maybe, but he's one of the oldest there. So he's definitely the wisest, and he has been with Dutch for so long. So
Yeah.
Hosea starts realizing this is not good. Things
Yes.
ain't going right.
Yeah, so-
it gets off the rails way faster than any of them anticipated, and by the time we get to Saint Denis, it just finally hits its apex. I mean, it gets worse from here, but everyone effectively realizes that things are finally bad to the point where they're not going to get better, and it happens very quickly.
That brings us to the Saint Denis job. They try to rob a bank. Of course, it goes wrong. You're trying to escape.
Bank.
You're trying to escape. Before you even escape, the Pinkerton agents, they have Dutch cornered. They have Hosea hostage. They basically kick him forward and shoot him in the back. They kill Hosea. And
broad
in
daylight.
broad daylight right in front of you. And Hosea was one of the few things that kept Dutch in check, and he is gone now. And obviously that hits the gang hard, but they don't have time. They have to run for their lives, and they're trying to escape the rooftops. And then Lenny, oh poor Lenny, he's running out. He says, I think there's something this way. And a door busts open, and it doesn't matter how fast you are at drawing your weapon, Lenny gets shot dead right in front of you. And Lenny...
Not instantly, though.
Not
instantly. Because he tries to say something to Arthur. If you stay there and watch him, you can watch him die. He's sitting there, he's choking to death on his blood.
Yeah.
Which is even worse.
Yeah, and because poor Lenny, he's a kid. He's early 20s, and he's dead now. Because he was like Jose. He was like a more gentle soul. He was less into the whole outlaw thing. He was well-read and things like that. And how he just gets shot dead. And so, the worst part is some of the gang just runs right past him. Like, obviously, Arthur stops. Charles, like, stops for a second but hesitates because he knows Charles, like, knows he has to keep going. And then you try to get onto a boat. Because now Dutch's plan is like, fuck going out west. We're going to Tahiti to harvest mangoes. And so you get on a boat, and there's like a storm that happens. Also, before you get on the boat, like, Charles has to, like, distract the Pinkertons, and at that point in the game, you think Charles gets captured. Luckily, he doesn't, but, because, God, Saint Denis can't be that much worse.
I almost forgot, John Marston, he was also part of this raid of the bank. He didn't get killed, but he did get arrested.
Yes,
he got arrested.
He did get arrested.
Which was a nice fake out because, you know, Red Dead 1, because this is one of the things I was waiting for in 2. Red Dead 1 refers to, because John leaves the gang at the end of it. And in Red Dead 1, John's hunting down the old men, what's left of the gang, because, anyway.
A lot.
John tells the story to a couple people that are trying to help him, like, Landon Ricketts, I think was his name, in Mexico. And he explains how he left, and he gives a brief description of a job he was doing, some kind of robbery, and he got shot, and then, you know, they left him behind. I thought that was going to be the Saint Denis bank. I thought that's where that was going to happen. It turns out it's not, but so John gets burned twice in this game, like really bad.
So you get on the boat, there's like a storm, and you wind up washed up on the island of Guarma, which is an island in, I believe, the Caribbean. It's like a sugar plantation. And now you're fucked.
Yeah, and you're with an unsavory batch as well, because there's Dutch, of course, and then there's Micah, which is always nice, and I think the last one was Bill Williamson.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is one of the times during Guarma you see Dutch literally just murder someone in cold blood. Because he, like, found this local woman that he said he was going to pay for, like, information. She gives him the information, and then he says, well, I'm not going to pay, and she gets all uppity, and then he, like, strangles her to death right in front of Arthur. And Arthur's like, what the fuck, Dutch? He doesn't actually say what he should.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments in the game that I understand the importance of that part, but maybe it's just because Arthur's finally waking up. I find it a little odd that he finds that odd, because it's like, Arthur, you claim multiple times that you guys aren't good people. It's like you've murdered in cold blood,
but that
plenty of times. I guess the idea here is that Arthur's, you know, at this point, Arthur's changing.
Yes, because
I guess
his TB is getting worse. Like, you have had coughing fits where you, like, pass out, like, in the street in the game by this point. And, like, you're getting worse. Like, you know you are going to die of TB as Arthur. So that's what, ideally, the narrative, like, it intends you to turn a new leaf. You can still have low honor and be a son of a bitch if you really want. But, like, I like, you know, turned over a new leaf. Because, admittedly, I did some fucked up shit at the beginning of the game. But, you know.
I just like whenever Arthur goes and gets diagnosed, and the doctor is like, the best way to take care of tuberculosis is just to rest and extend your lifespan as best you can. And then Arthur's just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Go to my beach house out in California?
Just go to my condominium out in California.
California. I know I'm glossing over a lot here, but even this trying to keep a brief synopsis has taken a long time, so.
It's a big game.
It is a big game. A lot happening. There's a ton of shit that we haven't even gotten to touch on. Anyway, so you essentially help a rebellion of sorts on Guarma, and then you get another ship back, because that's Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is brief, but it is, like, the breaking point. Like, after the seeds 3 and 4 planted, 5, it's like you're stranded on Guarma, Dutch is going crazy, Mike is, like, being the devil on his shoulder, Bill's an idiot and blindly follows orders, and Arthur's just stuck here being like, we need to stop what we're doing.
And Javier's just there.
Javier partly falls into the, like, blindly loyal thing, I think.
He
Because
does.
it's unfortunate, because, like, Javier is a fucking homie in Red Dead 2, but, his loyalty to Dutch blinded him.
Yeah, he's not even an asshole about it like Bill is. Javier legitimately does have concerns, but it's like he doesn't know what else to
Yeah,
do,
because
so he's kind of
Dutch
just
saved
stuck
his
being
life.
loyal.
Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Before the game, Dutch is a good person who, like, legitimately helped out members of the gang. But that comes to an end. So you get back to the States, and that at that point they've moved camp, or you get back to the swamp, and the Pinkertons attack, so you have to move again. And that point, that is when you get pushed to, like we mentioned, to Appalachia, and you were living in a cave. You are as far northeast, basically, as you can go on the map. Like, you were out of land. There's nowhere else to run.
And you're in the heart of Murphy Boy territory, just a bunch of absolute savages, like
Yes.
just full-on gremlins.
And
Go from savages to gremlins.
I know the events of 6, but I'm trying to, like, piece them together. So, after you've moved camp,
After you get back from the island, you head back to one of your old hideouts, this mansion they were staying in, Shady Shoals or something like that. I don't know what the hell it was called. And you find a letter from either Abigail or someone of the one of the women, it may have been Miss Grimshaw, and it has a new kind of a clue to the new location of the camp.
Right.
You make your way there, and the reunion is nice, but it unfortunately is brief.
Yes.
The Pinkertons show up again, and there's a massive shootout. You manage to escape, and you head to this cave area called Beaver Hollow. You're up in the trees and stuff. You kind of, it's a hollow or a holler.
you become hill people.
Or southern. Yeah, exactly. We're cave people now.
Yes.
Unfortunately, one of the characters in the game that we've skimmed over a little bit, because honestly, this was one of those what the hell moments if you didn't play a lot of the side stuff. Molly O'Shea gets pissed at Dutch. She shows up drunk as a skunk. She had been missing for a few days, I believe, at this point. And there was this whole side story going on between her and Dutch that they were together. And if you paid close attention, have conversations with Molly and Dutch off the record, like in between missions, which you'll probably end up doing a lot of in Red Dead 2 because you get a lot of downtime. Or at least you can have a lot of downtime if you want to spend that.
Yeah.
Molly and Dutch were having a lot of relationship issues, and every time the gang moves camps, it gets more and more out of hand. And every time you talk to Molly, like there's one part in Chapter 3 where you think you're going to have a mission with Molly, and then they fake you out and you're going back to Valentine to rob another bank. It's like, okay. Molly thinks that is one of the few that kind of sees that Dutch is going off the deep end ahead of time. And while Arthur kind of agrees with her at first, he doesn't do anything about it because, loyalty and all that good stuff. Because Dutch is practically his father. So it reaches its breaking point here because Molly, at this point, feels like she's been completely ignored and treated like absolute garbage.
Because she kind of was, unfortunately.
She was. Same here, girl. Same here. So unfortunately, she's drunk off of her fucking ass, and she starts saying some things that don't really line up. She claims that she told the Pinkertons about their robbery they were going to do in Saint Denis, and thus makes her kind of guilty for John getting arrested and for the deaths of Lenny and Hosea. Dutch gets absolutely pissed, but before he can do anything, Miss Grimshaw takes a shotgun and shoots her in the gut, and she dies instantly.
Yeah.
It was what just happened in the past 10 seconds, and then bam, Chapter 6, Beaver Hollow.
Yeah, basically, it kind of reveals an interesting plot point along with the gang as well. It's like, if you talk, you're dead. There is no like talk working things out or anything like that. They seem to just have this unspoken rule of if you betray them or if you put them in some deep shit on purpose, they're gonna kill you. Like, you just die. There is no getting kicked out, excommunicated. You just get murdered.
No, which is par for the course for Western gangs like that. But
yeah, it's just important to note, considering the fact that Dutch always makes out his band of people as like actual not civilized technically, but because he hates civilization, but it makes it out like they're people who are just trying to make a better future for citizens of the United States in a way that the government's not doing. But they just murder people if they do things they don't like, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it becomes it really sends things over the edge for pretty much everyone at this point, where the gang feels like Dutch has lost his freaking mind, with the exception of Bill, Javier, and Micah, of course, because Micah's the one.
It is worth
Micah's
mentioning
of the root of all
about
evil.
Dutch losing his mind. During the Saint Denis job, like, you're on a trolley and Dutch falls and hits his head. Which...
I refuse to believe that's the reason.
I don't think it's the entire reason, but I think it might have contributed to a degree. He was
I
still going
don't see
batshit and saying that whether he hit his head or not. I think that might have just made it faster.
That's my thing, is like he was already doing some ridiculous things long before the trolley.
Yeah.
The fact that he robbed Leviticus Cornwall at the beginning of the game, I would argue, it made him he was already freaking nuts. He just lost his inhibitor to like make it seem like he knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah, he kills Leviticus Cornwall, just fucking guns him down. Because
That does happen.
Dutch
Just at
just
random.
loves
yeah.
bad ideas like that.
You encounter Leviticus Cornwall several times throughout the game, and it ends up being him that you're on the run from, because I think he's downright funding the Pinkerton search.
I think
or
so,
something
yeah.
like that. You encounter him a lot of times, and every time it's worse than the last, and it does end with Dutch just shooting him in the face, which was not the plan at all. So him and Arthur, I think it's in Annesburg.
Yes.
Him and Arthur get into a big shootout in Annesburg over it, and like Arthur and Dutch are practically like bickering the entire time now. Like chapter 6 is basically Arthur saying Dutch no, Dutch saying Dutch yes, and things just get out of hand constantly. But you do manage to break John out of prison with the help of Sadie.
And a hot air
Against
balloon.
Dutch's wishes. You manage to get John out of jail, return him to the camp, and you even get to watch Como Driscoll, probably Dutch's most hated enemy, get hung.
Yeah, because usually
Saint
whenever he
Denis.
would get hung, like, his boys would save him, he would slaughter the members of his gang that would have. And you see genuine fear in his eyes as he knows that rope is about to come.
Yeah, because he's like
Yeah.
all cocky and shit. Because I got a sniper on the roof. And he looks at the roof and it's just Arthur and Sadie. He's like,
I think
Yeah,
I'm dangerous.
a man literally knowing he's going to his death. It's quite the
Yeah.
experience to witness.
But afterwards, after a few more odd jobs and very vain attempts at getting money quartered, can't forget about the quarter, the gang decides to rob yet another train, because this is a great idea. And during the train robbery, John gets shot and falls, and they just leave him behind. Even though
Arthur
Bill
wants
claims
to
he's
go
gonna
back.
get him back.
and then Dutch is like, nah.
Bill claims he goes and gets Johnny, lies and says he's dead or something. The gang manages to rob the train, and on the way back to camp, they tell John, they tell them that John's dead, but there's a small issue. Abigail's missing. The Pinkertons showed up to camp, started fucking shit up, and everyone's sort of scattered. And by scattered, I mean everyone's gone.
Yeah,
Pretty
people were
much.
done
Besides
with the
who went to go
bullshit.
get the train. The only people that were left were Tilly, and she had John and Abigail's son, Jack. She explains that Abigail got taken away, and at this point, Dutch is like, well, that's a shame. I guess we'll just go about our business. And Arthur's not having any of it. So he grabs his horse, grabs a few guns, and Sadie, and they go to save Abigail, which they do rather easily. A bit of a run-in with one of the head Pinkertons, but, it ain't that big of a deal. They kill him, and they go about their business. The only problem is that with Dutch going off the deep end, Arthur finally hits his breaking point. He's like, I've got to do something about this. And especially after saving Abigail and dealing with, I forgot his name. Was it Milton? Agent Milton? After dealing with Agent Milton,
He also kind of dropped
Arthur
a bomb, if I'm not mistaken, in that mission.
Arthur learns the truth about how the Pinkertons have been on their ass the entire game. There was indeed a rat, but it wasn't Molly O'Shea. It was Micah. And we really kind of skim, which was the point of the plot synopsis. We're skimming. We're still 40 minutes in. Jesus Christ. Micah was one of those gang members that joined recently.
Yes.
I believe he'd only been in the gang for a few months
Yep.
at the start of the game's events, and he had gotten nefariously close to Dutch, and honestly, I think it's one of those things that you can kind of see coming, like because he just gets a little too close to Dutch too fast at times.
And Dutch starts
And-
listening to him more than basically anyone else, which is not a good thing at all.
Right. The game does fake you out with Molly, but you still kind of feel like it's like that was kind of, out of nowhere. And when they finally reveal the truth, because he even mentions Molly, he's like, yeah, she didn't say anything. So she was just saying something. She said that before she died because she was drunk and she wanted a reaction out of Dutch because, she wanted his attention, unfortunately, and she paid that ultimate price. So with the truth in his hands now, Arthur decides, all right, I'm gonna do something about this. I don't know exactly what Arthur's plan was. It was to get the money, I believe, but I don't think Arthur's plan was very well thought out because he goes out there and he's outnumbered like 6-1.
It just turns into a
John
standoff.
John shows up limping.
It's like, you tried
with
to
a gun in
kill
his
me!
hand.
Yeah.
It was a nasty situation. Arthur manages to rattle the cages of some of the guys when he explains some of the truth to them, but unfortunately Micah being too far in Dutch's ear, and because the gang looks up to Dutch, it kind of falls on deaf ears to a point. You can tell like Javier and some of the others are a little hesitant. But before anything can happen, once again, the Pinkertons show up. And the finale, okay, it's not the finale, but the finale of chapter 6 anyway. You're in a massive, another massive shootout with the Pinkertons, and it leads to a final confrontation with Micah and subsequently Dutch. Unfortunately, at this point, Arthur's tuberculosis has progressed so far to where the man's, fucking coughing himself coarse.
He's a walking
and
corpse at this point.
Oh no, and he looks bad.
having-
He's
having trouble walking. He's having trouble talking.
It's near impossible to
And-
maintain your weight in the game by that point.
No, because you can't.
Yeah, you go extremely
really
underweight
well.
really fast. Yeah. And you face off with Micah on a cliff. And even with tuberculosis weighing him down, Arthur kicks the shit out of
Yes.
Micah.
No, yeah, he hits him with such a cold line. You can't even kill a dying man as they're fist fighting.
Yeah, which is just so fucking baller. But
Now, unfortunately, you don't really win that fist fight per se. You get knocked away, and you see a revolver. I don't remember how it got there.
it's
but there's this
Micah's
revolver.
because at some point Micah drops his gun because I think he tried to shoot you or something, and you try to get to Micah's gun, and Dutch steps on your hand.
Nah, Dutch is just like, no, you ain't doing that.
Yeah.
It's just so sad.
It is
Because Arthur's on the ground dying, looking up to the man that he loved and adored, and he's just giving him nothing.
And it's at this point Dutch realizes the truth. Somehow. Seeing Arthur die, I know had a lot to do with it, but Dutch just sitting there, he stares at him and he just walks away. He doesn't say anything. And he realizes that, yeah, I kind of fucked up.
Yeah, like he doesn't even go with Micah because Micah's like, Dutch, come on, we can still make it. And Dutch is just like, fuck
walks
this,
off.
I'm leaving. And then Arthur, he turns towards the sunset and dies knowing that at least he protected John and his family.
Yeah, as the final bits of Arthur's theme, I think, it's Unshaken. It plays while he just
God,
sits there and passes away.
Touches your fucking soul. It hurts. Now, we should mention, we're describing the overall best ending. There are 4 endings to the game, because there are 2 choices, where if you go back for the money that the gang had from Blackwater, or if you help John escape. If you get the money, fuck you. You're a piece of shit. And the other endings come from if you have high honor or low honor. Because if you have low honor, Micah fucking kills you outright. I think in both
Yeah,
endings.
you die, but yeah, he stabs you through the chest with a knife.
Or he shoots you in the head.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. Not in both endings. If you go for the money, he stabs you because you actually go back
Yeah,
to the camp.
if you go back for the money, it's a
if you help
knife
John,
fight rather than a fist fight, and you do actually cut Micah's eye out in the knife fight.
yeah. Well, you don't cut it out, you damage it because it's still in there. It's just cream colored now. When you head to the cliff in low honor, that's when also one of my favorite fucking lines from Arthur, actually, that I only heard because I looked it up on YouTube. I think Dutch walks away because the scene plays out very closely the same. Dutch walks away after stepping on Arthur's hand and all that and realizing he fucked up. And I can't remember exactly how Micah starts it off, but he just says, "Damn you," and then Arthur shouts back at him, "Damn us both," and Micah shoots him straight in the head.
Yeah. But overall, saving John with high honor definitely gets you the best ending, because you just can die peacefully watching the sunset knowing you saved John and his family.
It also does affect like a lot of other things in the game.
Yes.
How the characters talk about Arthur and remembrance of, because you have two more whole chapters after
Yeah,
this.
the
Like,
epilogue,
the game doesn't
Act
end
1
there.
and 2.
Yeah, not much of an epilogue, but you know.
It's not an epilogue. It's called that, but it is absolutely not an that's the last two chapters of the game. Because epilogue implies, oh, it's just some extra side things at the end.
No,
you don't
it's
have
a whole
to do
thing.
this. No, you have to do that. The game's not over.
No, you
No.
absolutely have to do the epilogue.
So
Throughout the epilogue, the characters do talk about Arthur a bit, and they say some pretty nice things if you actually manage to keep high honor. More importantly, Arthur says thank you to his horse, because your horse dies right before Arthur does, and that broke me.
I was so
Yes.
sad when Big Sheila went. It hurt.
Oreo was a good horse.
Not Oreo.
It's also worth mentioning the epilogue is what, 1907? 19...
Yeah, because Jack.
1905, I think.
I mean, Jack is like 10 or
12.
so. At
I
this
think he's
point.
12.
He's 12.
So it's 9 years after, or wait, fuck, now I can't remember. It's in like the early to mid like 1900s.
It's 1907.
1907. That's what I thought.
It's 8 years. 8 years.
8 years. So yeah, because Jack was what, 5?
It doesn't matter. It's on the wiki. 1907. That's the point.
Yeah. So it's
So-
the epilogue's 1907, and John's got an alias. Obviously, we have different aliases throughout the game. Fucking, I think one time Dutch says his name is Leviticus Cornwall to someone, but now
I still love Archibald
Archibald
Smith and
Smith.
John's.
And whenever he
John was
signs
Rip Van
things,
Winkle.
Tacitus Kilgore.
yes,
Tacitus
Tacitus
Kilgore,
That I fucking
yeah.
love that one. Anyway, now John Marston goes under the name Jim Milton, and he's got a big beard.
Nice beard.
And
Yeah, he looks a bit closer to John as we know him from the first.
you find work with this ranch, like you help protect this rancher's like livestock and property. And during an attack, you basically have to reveal that you're John Marston, a legendary gunslinger.
Well, legendary, quote unquote.
Well, you have to reveal that it's like you're not just any farmhand. You're a man who really knows how to use a gun.
Right, but it doesn't do anything to John and his family.
Yeah.
Abigail is upset about it and actually takes Jack and leaves. But the farmhands are like, "Yeah, just don't do that again."
Yeah.
Just don't keep
And we'll be
killing
fine.
people. Be
But
nice.
then,
So
is it in Act 1 that you meet Sadie?
no, Act 1. So Act 1, John's looking for work because he has to support his family, and they end up on that farm like Dylan was talking about. And obviously there's a bit of an issue, but even after Abigail leaves, John kind of has another turning point, because John has a lot of those in this
Yes.
game. John realizes, like, all right, if I'm going to be able to keep my family, I'm going to have to provide for them. So I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to keep working. So you stay at the ranch for a while. I think it's like it's close to Hanging Dog Ranch. And he puts up fences, he milks cows, he shovels shit, like he does all that good
Yeah.
stuff you do on a farm. And
He
the
gets
man
pretty buddy
manages to make
with
it-
the owner of the ranch. Yeah, I think the owner of the ranch is like, I like you, Marston. I'm gonna help you with your finances. And I think he like, I can't remember exactly what he did, But I think he did something along the lines of like, I'll give you a recommendation to the Bank of Blackwater. I'll give you the recommendation to the Bank of Blackwater so you can get a loan for like, housing and whatnot.
It's a loud silence.
I was waiting on one of you guys.
Everyone just collectively gave up on the synopsis there.
So that's getting cut out, but audience, that was like a 15 seconds worth of silence.
It was not 15,
I don't know
it was
why.
like 5.
No, that was more than 5 seconds.
That was uncomfortable.
But the audience will never know. Well, I was like, all right, Nathan's interrupting me. I guess he's gonna take over now, and then he stops. It was like, okay.
I've done most of the
I haven't really been
synopsis.
talking much.
I thought you were gonna say more shit, Nathan. You're the one out of us who most recently beat the game. I beat the game like 4 years ago, so I'm really having to like go back and be like, try to have the events in my head. It's like, you beat the game a few months ago.
All right,
I've been scared to play Red Dead 2 again because the last time I did, my life fell apart.
Damn.
It's kind of like, I know this is off topic, but some call me Johnny mentioned in the their Final Fantasy 9 playthrough on Brain Scratch Commentaries, great YouTube channel. He hasn't played Final Fantasy 9 in a while at that point because last time he played it, Michael Jackson died, and I was like, you know what, same. Some games are great, but damn it, if they don't have repercussions for playing them.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
Then, it's by the end of Act 1 of the epilogue that John's like, I need to get Abigail and the kids and the kid back, and like,
but yeah,
be a man.
you leave the ranch at this point after getting some money, and he heads down to Blackwater to get a loan for a house. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, you run into Uncle again, the old drunken bastard. And he kind of somehow manages to give John some words of wisdom, and John ends up kind of just being stuck with him.
Essentially, yes.
And I don't remember exactly how this happened. They run into Charles at this point too, but I don't remember.
They run into
exactly
Sadie
the
first,
order
I
of
think.
events there.
They did, yeah, because
Charles
John
you run
was,
into
like,
in Saint
outside
Denis.
work. Yeah, you find Charles
Okay.
doing like street fights for money.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
meet up with Sadie because like she's like a badass bounty hunter now, and like obviously like Arthur's dead, but like Sadie and John and Charles, they want to kill Micah. They want to get revenge for the people who on the people who wronged them. And yeah, you eventually make it to Saint Denis, and you find Charles throwing fights for money, and you convince him not to throw a fight, and then like you get chased down by the mob and you escape. But oh yeah, we didn't even talk about Bronte and the fucking whatever. It's too late. There's
It's
too
not
much.
that
It's
There's a
really
lot.
not.
Angelo Bronte is not that big in the story. I
He's
don't
not.
think.
Look, we
Like,
didn't even
he's
talk
there, but,
about we didn't even talk about the Native Americans of Wapiti either, which is also a big
Yeah.
point. But
again, not
there's a
Again,
lot.
you have probably played Red Dead if you have watched this video, because if not, you're a fucking idiot. Anyway, so you Charles and Sadie reunite, and Sadie's like, I found Joe and what's the other one's name that were part of Micah's gang? Like they were his like cronies.
Oh, it was like Clyde or something, like
Cletus?
Cletus or something.
Cleet?
But yeah, it
Cleet.
starts with
I
a
think it
C.
was
It's
Cleet,
something
wasn't
like
it?
that.
I think it was just Cleet.
Cleat.
I don't know. Anyway, you track down one of them, and he's like, apparently him and Micah killed some girl, and he's like real remorseful. And Sadie tells you to hang him because you're in Strawberry, like at the gallows. And you can do it, but if you don't, Sadie will. Like, that man ain't making that of your life. He gets hung. And then you find out that Micah is on Mount Hagen, I think it is. And that begins one of the best sequences in the game besides attacking Braithwaite Manor.
Oh, American Venom.
American Venom. Yeah, so Charles gets shot. He doesn't die, but like he's wounded, so he can't keep going. So you and Sadie keep fighting up the mountain. And then like it plays American Venom, one of the best pieces of music to ever grace humanity. And before you get to the top, Joe and like two cronies come out, and they're like, "Is it just you left, John?" And John's like, "Yeah, just me." And then you gun them down because you're John fucking Marston. you make it to the top of Mount Hagen, and you find Micah.
Oh yeah, you are by yourself at this point, because Sadie just more or less just tanks a liver stab, like just straight up gets stabbed, and she's like, "I'm fine, but you keep going."
Yeah. So you encounter Micah, and there's this shack, and then out walks Dutch. And Micah's like, yeah, me and Dutch are teaming up again. It's a new century, a new us. And John says to Dutch, what are you doing here, Dutch? And Dutch gives the cryptic line, same as you, I suppose. And that piece of dialogue is very important. And then Sadie makes it up to... Dutch and Micah hold John at gunpoint. Sadie makes up the mountain, backs up John. But Micah manages to, like, get her at gunpoint. And there's this very tense standoff, and John's like, say something, Dutch, say something. And because Dutch is aimed at now Micah and John. And he shoots Micah in the heart. And that, like, makes him, like, let go Sadie. And then as John, you unload into Micah, who falls dead. And then Dutch just walks away in silence. He doesn't say anything. That was, like, the last non-selfish act I think Dutch will ever do.
It's the last good thing Dutch will ever do.
Yes. And so you kill Micah, and John is good. Charles and Sadie are mostly good. Now, to explain how they're not in Red Dead 1, luckily they don't die. Sadie goes to South America, I think, because of bounty hunting opportunities, and Charles says he wants to go up north to Canada and start a family.
Which he does,
yeah,
I think.
A lot of messed up things happen to the gang, or not so messed up, but a lot of members die. Karen, one of the women that were part of the gang, she ended up drinking herself to death.
Because she was in love with Sean, and Sean got shot.
She relapsed into becoming an alcoholic again and drank herself to death. Miss Grimshaw was shot by Micah before all hell broke loose in Chapter 6.
Molly got shot by Grimshaw.
Right. Tilly actually manages to have a nice life. You can find her in Saint Denis. It's a side thing. It has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, you can
encounter you can actually find her, and she's married to a lawyer and all that, and she's having a good life for herself.
And Mary Beth, she's a writer now. Pearson,
Pearson has a shop.
Yeah, he's the general store owner in Rhodes now.
Oh God, what's the Reverend's name?
Swanson.
Swanson.
Yeah, Swanson. I think.
Yeah, he gets out of town before things get too heavy.
He stops drinking.
He actually becomes sober and takes a train and gets the heck out of there, which is surprisingly really nice for him.
You do find out Strauss, who Arthur kicks out of camp eventually for being tired of his shit. Apparently, he got interrogated by the Pinkertons and didn't give them shit. They literally killed him, and they didn't get any info from him. So it's like, damn, it kind of retroactively, like, changes your opinion of Herr Strauss.
Or if you're a bit more cynical, you'd be like, well, he got what he deserved.
I mean, hey,
I can respect that he didn't talk.
Yeah, props for... Because, like, Strauss is not an intimidating man. He's a frail old German man. I mean, my man got tortured and didn't give up shit. I give him props for that, because there's plenty of members of the gang who I think would immediately squeal.
I understand that line of thinking, but it's also like, what was he going to give them? Because he was kicked out of camp, and they were all separated. He had zero way of giving them literally anything. To me, that means nothing. Who else is there? Bill and Javier disappeared at this point and are doing their own things because everyone's left Dutch now because everyone realized he's nuts.
Yeah, the gang is entirely dissolved.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that really is
Yeah, you basically live out the epilogue. You do farm work on the house you build with Uncle and Charles. And Abigail and Jack come back.
Jack are there.
Yeah. Now, here's why you obviously know it's not a true happy ending. So you kill Agent Milton as Arthur, one of the main Pinkertons hunting you. His partner, though, Agent Ross, finds out about a certain Jim Milton shooting Micah Bell dead on Mount Hagen. And that obviously leads to the story of Red Dead 1, where John is indebted to the Pinkertons and basically has to hunt down his gang so the Pinkertons don't kill him and his family.
Yeah, even you see that in the credits because it gives you these little after images of like John's wedding and stuff like that, and it even shows like Edgar Ross and that other Poindexter who's totally not Agent Milton reused from the first game. They're just sitting there on a cliff and they're looking at Beecher's Hope where John built his house. It's like, yep, this is everyone who played Red Dead 1 knows where this is going, and anyone who didn't play Red Dead 1, all three of you are like, what? Yeah, what's going on?
And
Did they die?
the best part is Abigail pleaded with John not to go after Micah. And even Arthur tells John before he died, he's like, revenge is a fool's game. And it is, because John ended up getting revenge and he avenged Arthur by killing Micah, but it led to his own downfall and his family's downfall. Very, very tragic story, the Red Dead games. Beautiful fucking story, though.
Very good. Good music as well. We don't really talk about it other than like American Venom, but it's got some really good tracks. Unshaken. That's the way it is. Cruel World.
The soundtrack as a whole is amazing, but I mentioned American Venom specifically because no other song I think will make you violently had to get it. Fuck you.
Give him credit. It took an hour this time.
I gotta get one in
it's
there.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think our attempts to brief the story was an absolute fucking dream.
We cut out so much though. We cut out like Mary, like Arthur's love interest. We cut out Bronte. Like we skimmed over Cornwall.
Yeah.
We tried to cut out so much. That just shows
think,
you how much there is to Red Dead 2. Is we tried to skim as much as possible, and it still took us an hour and 3 minutes to cover.
It's a loaded game.
I think we should have just boiled it down to Dutch fucks up the end.
Yeah, I mean, we probably could have, but that doesn't make for a good podcast. I guess we could have talked about
there were
other
a lot
stuff,
of other things.
but-
Always Sunny
I mean-
intro. Dutch fucked up.
I mean, I thought the intention here is we were going to talk about the game, but
We didn't talk
meant
about
to.
shit. The game.
I'm sorry that the synopsis took so long. I did try to cut out a lot,
sense.
though.
this is a whole episode, fellas, and it was like a half-assed description of the story. What does that say about us? I don't know if that says something about us or the
Like
game.
I said,
I don't know.
I beat this game 4 years ago when it came out. I beat the campaign, so I'm really like having to go back a long while. Nathan has less of an excuse because I told him for years to beat Red Dead 2 story because it's amazing. It took him till like 4 months ago.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I beat the game last year.
Yeah, so like,
And things haven't been the same since.
yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the game. I like it more than the first one just because it's a bit more updated, a little easier to play. The first one is still really good, though. So it's really... It's one of those things where I see a lot of people talking about, which one's better and all that. And it usually ends up being kind of a split down the line kind of argument, which in a lot of cases I'd say just wait for the remake at this point. I guess if we get a trailer next year, like in 2023, if we get some kind of confirmation it's coming soon, wait for it. If not, then yeah, probably just play because it's still on Xbox One or Xbox in general. You can play it with Game Pass and shit like that. It's backwards compatible. So, because a lot of people actually played Red Dead 2 first now because Rockstar doesn't believe in re-releases. So
Except if it's GTA.
Yes.
GTA 5 specifically.
GTA 5, yes.
I mean, they did release the other GTA games,
But it
just
was
half-assed.
it was a
kinda.
fucking shit show.
Yeah, I wonder if those are worth playing now. If they fix them yet.
I don't know.
Knowing Rockstar,
Probably
they
not.
didn't,
But I mean, to be fair, we did sprinkle in our favorite moments of the game because obviously I know one of Logan's favorite sequences is assaulting Braithwaite Manor. Mine's the fight up the mountain with American Venom. Nathan, what's yours?
Ooh, favorite part of the game. That is a good
credits.
one. Crimes. God, that actually is a really good question.
The part where I can just replay the game and leave Micah in jail.
I liked Gorma a lot.
Gorma
Like,
was an interesting change of pace, at least.
just going balls to the walls and Gorma with like a militia was fun.
Guarma's the closest you'll ever get to Tahiti.
I thought Guarma was fine for a map change. I did like kind of the tropical area, but for the story, I did think it was kind of a pace breaker.
I think it was kind of a
'Cause, I mean-
necessary pace breaker, though, because after Act 3 and 4, you're just like, what the fuck just happened? And you kind of have time to, like, internalize and, like, analyze that shit of all the shit that just happened to you in the game. And now you're, like, even more shit, because you're stranded on Guarma.
I see that. It's just, for me, it became more of a, what's gonna happen now sort
That's
of thing.
fair.
Like, I didn't care because, like, I didn't. I don't know exactly how to explain this, but basically, the effect it had on me was because of things ramped up so much, and then they come to a complete halt. It just makes me wish the island section ended faster so I could get to see what happened next. Because besides showing, because Dutch is already going crazy at this point, so like anything they did in Guarma to like further emphasize that could have been done on the main map as part of as the story was going along. To me, Guarma, in terms of story, like in terms of mission structure, like Nathan said, it's kind of fun playing with the militia, but it has nothing to do with anything. To me, it felt like a waste of time because I was just like, when does this end so I can get back to the story? But that's just me. And maybe, maybe more people like it the way, like you said, Dylan, maybe it gives you time to relax and internalize. But to me, I don't like it when people stop. Well, I don't like it when the game stops. Like, if you're going to ramp it up, keep going. If you're going to slow down, do it gradually and kind of bring us into something that a stopped state that actually means a damn. To me, Guarma was a waste of time. In terms of story, gameplay-wise, it was cool, though. I wish I could go there whenever I wanted, like in online. But we can't get what we want from Rockstar games.
Nah. So we're definitely running out of time here, but to summarize, Rockstar put very little faith into the Red Dead Online mode, then it didn't do well, and then they wondered why it didn't do well, huh? Weird.
Yeah, online is like one of those things where it started out bad, it got a little better, and then they did nothing with it. They introduced a couple of a role system to where you could be a bounty hunter, a trader, and a collector, and those were cool. Those were nice time sinks. They were fun. You could do them with friends. You could do them individually. And me, Nate, and Dylan actually did a lot of that when in 2020 when COVID first hit, because we had nothing better to do with our lives at that point. And I still had hope in my eyes. We actually all became. We all took a role in Red Dead Online. Nathan was the collector, I was the trader, and Dylan was the bounty hunter. Now, we all play all the roles now, but for a while it was just us doing our individual things, even if we played a little bit of the other role. Like, Dylan, I think you were a trader almost as fast as you were a bounty hunter. But, that was my area. And then we all just kind of ran our own little economy in Red Dead, and it was a lot of fun because we'd play for like 12 hours a day because, again, COVID, there's nothing else to do. And it was really fun, and I wished that they kept that kind of love and attention for the future content. But after the Moonshiner update, I'd say they just fucking gave up. Like, there was just zero effort put into anything after Moonshiner.
Yeah. I got this weird feeling that Rockstar released the Red Dead Online mode and thought, is like, well, everyone loves GTA Online. This will be an instant hit, and we don't have to put any effort into it at all because people already love it. And it's like, well...
But that's the thing, is they don't realize GTA Online used to suck too until they finally added some content.
Yeah.
Right, but that was only... I want to say that was only like 3 months or 4 months, maybe. Because, like, GTA came out in October of 2013, but I don't think the online technically became a thing until December or January. And then the heists were out in March.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, while that is true, Red Dead, how long was Red Dead in beta? 6 months?
Something like that.
And what happened when they got out of
Not
beta?
much.
Basically nothing.
Nothing? Yeah.
The game was just a buggy fucking mess for a lot.
Like,
we had to keep restarting the game, like turning off the game and booting it back up just to make the camp spawn in, which is like the hub for the shit you do.
Sucked.
The update in spring of 2020 was
Animals
awful.
also stopped spawning one point. Like you just couldn't hunt.
Yeah, that was bad. That was so bad. I hated that. Which I believe had something to do with servers getting congested with how many players were in it. So if you got a server with less players, I think that helped.
Yeah.
But that was still agonizing because you couldn't just easily hop sessions and like manipulate it like you could in GTA. The only thing I can say more for Red Dead Online is it's weird that it got an individual release and not GTA Online, even though that's now a thing. But it's just kind of weird that Red Dead got it first for whatever reason. And Rockstar needs to do better, and I hope Red Dead 1's remake has pretty much everything Red Dead 2 Online had in its multiplayer. Which, if there isn't a multiplayer Red Dead 1's remake, then I'm going to be upset because I need multiplayer Red Dead in my life.
Be fucking stupid. I mean, even the multiplayer of the original Red Dead 1 would be welcome because there's some good modes in that.
Oh yeah, the original multiplayer for Red Dead 1 is actually really cool. It is kind of unfortunate if you don't have enough people to play with, but it does have some really cool modes, and honestly, if they just took that as a basis, Red Dead 2 Online could have been so much further ahead than what it was.
Yeah.
Because I think you could even fast travel to your teammate just by instantly, like, bam, hello. It's like, oh yeah, we need this. And playing as Dutch and Javier Escuela was cool.
Yeah.
That was really fun. The explosive rifle just turns you into meat hunks. That was great. I don't think there's really... There's so much more we could talk about with Red Dead 2. You know, I mean, we don't really have to get into how the game works because it's a Rockstar game.
Right.
You know, it's GTA or Red Dead. You played it. But is there anything in particular you guys want to talk about to go over time? Like, do you want to talk about the side quests, or do you think this is enough?
I mean, I think we've covered... That's the thing is, I didn't really cover the side quests because I was trying to rush the synopsis, and I still fucking failed horribly at that, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting the synopsis to be like 10 minutes, and then we just get into the game. But,
Nah, we just went full movie review into it, man.
well,
Which, I mean, I don't mind. I feel like
I
it was
don't
still fun.
yeah, I don't know. I think we can just chalk it up to just play Red Dead.
Yes,
2 if we haven't
absolutely. It
already.
is one of the best games of our time.
All
Yes.
time. Yeah, just ever.
It's a great one.
video
It's a
game.
very great one.
Probably, I don't know if it's my favorite Rockstar game, but it's at least top 3 in terms of
Oh,
their
yeah.
single player
Definitely.
experiences, I would say. Next to San Andreas and I guess Vice City, Red Dead 1, maybe. Not sure.
Yeah.
We should do another game review.
Oh, yeah, we definitely should.
I want to
This
play
is
another
good.
game. I want to play a game.
All right. Well, thank you for watching our very shitty synopsis of Red Dead 2, sprinkled in with like things we liked and why the online failed.
Sad. Very sad.
We could probably do a whole episode talking about Red Dead Online.
Oh yeah, easily.
We got a lot we can do episodes on.
Look,
Let's make an episode.
there's a
about Red Dead
lot
Online.
of bullshit we can talk about. You know, this podcast ain't going nowhere. Like we have more than enough shit to talk about for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
Allegedly.
And more shit just keeps
Allegedly.
getting made. Like more games, more movies, things like that.
Yeah, we got a lot more wacky tacky shit that we do with our lives that we would like to share with you all eventually anyway. So I appreciate
You know,
all
if
coming to check it
we
out.
live that long anyway.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys so much for watching the Bloomfeld podcast.
Peep the pod Twitter.
And yeah, Twitter,
Yeah.
use it.
It's
Check it out.
Bloomfeld Pod on Twitter.com. It follows all of our personal Twitter accounts. Logan also streams. You can find the direct link to that in the About Maybe section of the channel. Or you can just look up Logan the Kid on Twitch. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Where the hell's the stop button? There it is.
What the hell was this ending?